Hi, and welcome again to the Path to Profit podcast. I am Brad Dobson, and this is my wife, Dr. Manette Riordan. We are both lunatics, and we're here to bring you information about business. And we are kind of laughing at ourselves trying to prepare for this podcast, which is another hostful episode, which we enjoy doing so that we get to focus on some very specific things and not have to ask all those crazy host questions and stuff like that.
Well, we could ask each other crazy host questions.
That's right. Okay. Anyways.
So good morning. It's my job today to share the quote. And I recently read a really interesting book called Wired to Create by Scott Barry Kaufman and Carolyn Gregoire. And it was an interesting study on how creativity works and how creatives work, and what are some of the ways that we can be more effective as creatives, as well as some of the ways that if we're longing for more creativity, we can bring more of that into our life. And in our show today, we're going to be talking about our brand new quiz that we just created and our fun creative business archetypes. So I felt like this quote from the book Wired to Create ties in beautifully to this whole concept of creatives. And really, today is about showcasing why we're so passionate about working with creatives and how we're here to support you in growing your business and being a lunatic, right? Because that's kind of what it takes. But the authors write, creative people seem to be particularly good at operating within a broad spectrum of personality traits and behaviors. They are both introverted and extroverted, depending on the situation and environment, and learn to harness both mindfulness and mind wandering in their creative process.
Ooh, good one.
Mind wandering. So it also ties into the Deep Work book by Cal Newport that we've been reading, and we're going to talk about it in our next podcast.
Wait, you didn't say who the quote's by?
Oh, it's a different quote.
Oh, okay.
So Brad's reading over my shoulder on this quote, and the next quote in the book is by somebody named.
Oh, and I know this from another book. It's Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi.
Wow. Yeah. Say that 3 times fast.
No. Okay.
Yes. It's so funny. So his quote says, what dictates their behavior is not a rigid inner structure, but the demands of the interaction between them and the domain in which they're working. So I love that, right? So, and on our next show, we're going to be talking about Cal Newport's Deep Work, because it's a really important conversation for creatives and business owners to be having as well.
Cool. So we just launched our new quiz as part of a larger webinar and course launch funnel, which we're really excited about. And the quiz is a bit of a master stroke by Manette, I think. It synthesizes together. Sure. It synthesizes together a lot of our experience with clients and customers and how they work, who they are. And so the quiz is to see whether you are one of 3 different creative business archetypes. Manette loves that archetype term. And
archetypes are important.
What are the 3 archetypes?
Yes, right as I take a sip of water. We told you we're feeling a little silly this morning. But the 3 creative business archetypes are the mentor, the maker, and the maverick. So just from listening to that, you may be instantly able to identify which is your creative business archetype. And I wanted to just say something about the concept of an archetype. An archetype is a universally recognizable form, like the archetypal mother, the archetypal father, god, goddess, warrior, hero. There's a lot of different archetypes.
Fallen hero.
Yeah. An unsung hero.
That's right.
Yes, we could go on and on. The athlete would be another one. There's one for you. But there's sort of this recognizable qualities, aspects, journeys, stories that anyone can connect and relate to. And we all have aspects of many different archetypes within us. Carolyn Mays was a big studier of Jung, and between Jung and Mays, they've made still that archetypal mythology and just contemporary sort of systemizing of how to look at the different aspects of ourselves in a really formative way that's really beautiful. So highly recommend Carolyn Mays and her Sacred Contracts if you're interested in learning more about archetypes, especially for women.
So let's get back. I want to talk about what is a mentor? Who is a maker? Who is a maverick?
I don't know. You want to start, or are you going to make me do all the work?
No, I'm going to ask you the questions.
It's your
It's your master stroke.
So I personally have been doing this work for almost 5 years now, working with creatives. Brad's been in the business for the last year. You've heard part of that journey and that story. And last year we had 12 months with a group of 15 women. That was just amazing. Plus my private clients and other people that we were in contact with. So in the last 5 years, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of creative entrepreneurs. And I started to notice that creatives tend to fall into 3 different categories, and that there's certain overarching things that kind of they all have in common. But one of the places where they really struggled was understanding what type of business to build. And so we're going to talk more after I talk about the archetypes. We're going to talk about what is a business model, how do you pick the right business model, what happens when you're stuck in the wrong business model, and what happens if you're building too many business models all at once, which is one of the number one mistakes that I see a lot of creatives make.
Yeah, and I think maybe even more important is the why of how or why a particular set of business models or a particular business model aligns better with a specific archetype. This is really key, and it's crucial to our whole master plan here. Is that if you identify with a specific archetype, some of these business plans are terrible ideas for you, and other ones are excellent ideas for you. So there's guidance that we can give based on that, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with talking about the mentor. So the mentor is you. If you love speaking, teaching, coaching, training, anything that where you're connecting face to face with people, either one-on-one or one to groups, and that could be online as well, but you're really passionate about community, like people connection, knowledge, information, teaching are all things that are really, really important to you. You highly value connection more than anything else. And so what happens when you're in that mentor role is usually in a helping role, a service-based industry role, but your most important, or the thing that gives you the most joy, let me say it that way, is really connecting with people. And we came up with 3 different ways that mentors can easily build profitable businesses that really meet the needs of who they are at their core and how they love to connect with people. And one is just being a one-on-one mentor is the first business model. And that's where you're probably a coach, most likely, or a trainer, like a personal fitness trainer would be a great example of this. Even a massage therapist, a healer, or another kind of holistic practitioner would also fall in this one-on-one mentor role. You're primarily working one-on-one with people. And your biggest challenges are often how to price your services for profit so that you actually make sure that you're getting paid well. Because one of the biggest challenges of the one-on-one mentor role is that you run out of time. You only have so many hours in the day that you can be seeing clients, right? And connecting with people on top of doing all the other things that it requires to actually run a business. So the one-on-one mentors can often be challenged with sales and marketing, even though they love connecting with people. That idea of connecting to people from a sales perspective can sometimes feel off and icky. They often undercharge or discount their prices because it's so important to them to be of service. So again, the one-on-one mentor role is a great place to start for most service-based businesses. What's going to happen though is those service-based businesses are going to need to grow, right? They're going to need to evolve into other business models. But in this particular business model, you have to master sales. Once you master sales one-on-one, face-to-face, or over the phone, then you can move on to some of the other business models.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So of our 3 archetypes, would you say that the mentors are typically are typically already aligned with their purpose and why they've started a business? Or does everybody generally have the same? Some people are really aligned with it to start, some people aren't.
You know, I wouldn't say that any of the archetypes are or aren't aligned with their purpose. I think that mentors, I agree with you, mentors probably are the most aligned with their purpose from the get-go. And that's a huge gift, right? To be aligned with their purpose and know what the change is that they want to be in the world and what they're striving to create.
Yeah, because I mean, the whole nature of service is that they're coming to it from a place of, I want to serve, and they kind of know ahead of time what it is that they want to serve.
Yeah, we talk a lot in our summits and in our Creative Freedom Formula course about this concept of knowing your big why, the really understanding and clarifying your vision and your mission as well. And when you have all those pieces and align those pieces with your core values, it makes everything so much easier, but I digress. So the next business model for the mentor is the live event host. And this is one of my favorite roles to play. And so a live event host is someone who hosts their own live events, workshops, group programs that require them being in front of large groups of people frequently, right? It's what motivates them, excites them. One of their best marketing tactics is speaking on other people's stages, but their happy place is standing in front of a room full of people and teaching, training, and coaching, right? And really engaged in all three of those things. So the live event model is a very popular model for the mentor archetype. And then the third one is the one who's really comfortable building an online community. That might be a membership program, a continuity program, would be some examples of building online community. And aligning with purpose and being really clear about purpose is super important when you're building online community. And remembering that it still requires a lot of time and effort online, right? You have to really love technology and be really comfortable with online visibility, with video, with content creation to really master the online community. I don't always consider it the first place or the first type of business model where someone should start.
Sure. What do you have some examples of some mentors?
Yeah, definitely. And I have examples for each of those different categories as well. And you're going to ask me that, and all my notes are out of order here.
That's all right. We can come back to it.
But that live event host model, a really famous one is Suzanne Evans. Christian Mickelson, they're big names in the coaching industry, Lisa Sasevich, my own mentors, Thrive Academy, Jesse Korn and Charlotte Jacobs, are some great examples of the live event host. Marie Forleo is one of the most famous. It's built an amazing online community around her B School. It's a great example. And one-on-one mentors, there's lots of sort of, it's back to that unsung hero, lots of people building really successful 6 and even 7-figure businesses doing that one-on-one mentor model, and they just keep raising their prices and raising their prices. One of my best friends and colleagues, Dana Corey, has that model where she doesn't work with very many people. She just gets paid really well and works really deeply with them. So it's a beautiful thing to aspire to. If you love working one-on-one, you got to really nail that pricing piece.
Cool. Let's talk about makers.
Let's talk about makers. So before I do that,
I think I identify with maker.
You totally are a maker, no doubt about it. But I wanted to back up just a minute and define what a business model is, right? So we're sharing all these different business models, and it's really important that people know what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah, seeing as we just talked about a bunch of them, maybe.
Yeah. Yes.
What's a business model?
You should be able to answer this question, honey.
It's the framework of how you're going to do business.
Yeah. Actually, it's the framework of how you're going to make money, not how you're going to do business, just how you're going to make money. It's all about the model that you're using to make money.
Okay. Fair enough.
Makes sense, right? So like in our business, we actually have 3 different business models that we employ. We have one-on-one mentor, we have live event host, and we have online community, right? So we're really employing 3 completely different business models. We did not try to build those all at once, right? We really gradually grown into the Maverick role that we'll talk about in a few minutes. But simply put, a business model is how you're going to make money in your business and what are the activities required. What are the activities required to make that happen? And it's different than a business plan. And I'm really glad you brought that up because we teach business planning. We teach our beautiful business mandala that's super fun. And so knowing your business model will help you create an effective business plan. And a business plan is broader than a business model, but it includes all the aspects of running your business, not just how you're going to make money, right? Going a little bit deeper into marketing and sales and tactics like that.
Sure.
So why do you identify with a maker, sweetie?
Because I make things. I write software, I write blog posts, I write music, I write systems for our company. Creating. It's kind of key to what I do. So I guess that's why I identify as a maker.
Yeah. So the maker, like Brad said, is someone who likes to make, and they could make products, they could make art, they could make music, they could make software or programs. So they're really, so they value freedom, they value creativity, and they value adventure, right? They're really inspired by getting out and connecting with the world around them, being out in nature. They are the ones that are most likely out of the three archetypes to be introverted, need a lot of uninterrupted creative time, and they tend...
Yeah, so this is an example of where, or I can give you an example of business models that wouldn't align with the maker, like myself. So live event host is tricky for the maker.
Yeah.
Because it's not in our unique brilliance to be leading a group of people that way. So that's just a quick example.
Yeah, no, it's a great example, right? And at the end, I think we could go back and look at what are the, what happens when you're out of alignment. Excuse me. It's an incredibly gorgeous time in Santa Barbara right now. We've had so much rain, everything's blooming, and it's impacting my allergies a little bit.
Allergy time.
Yes, so I apologize. So the maker archetype is the one who, as we said, loves to make things. They're super creative. They really struggle with pricing their products and services. So under that maker archetype, we have a couple of different business models that I think will make it really clear about whether or not you might be a maker. So the first one is the one that I like to call the DIY expert, the do-it-yourself expert. So the DIY expert may reflect the mentor a little bit because they love to teach, but the way they teach is usually not face-to-face or even live to people. They love creating online programs, tutorials. Like Brad's really great at doing screencasts where he creates tutorials for our VA or other people to be able to use systems and processes, like how to work the back end of WordPress or how to use our Entreport system. So they're great at teaching other people, but they usually do it through a home study model or a home study version of the work that they do. They love templates, blueprints. Writing books and ebooks is really effortless and easy for them. But the purpose, they're driven to teach other people and to help other people simplify their lives through that DIY model. So that would be one perspective of the maker.
Right.
And that can be an entire business model, right? So an example of this is the company Digital Marketer, who's one of our favorite companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are DIY experts. They are excellent at creating training programs that teach other people how to successfully do their own digital marketing, right? It's a great example. An organization like Udemy, right, that has online courses. They're DIY experts.
Isn't it Udemy?
Udemy? Did I say it wrong? Udemy?
I think so.
I don't know. It's a funny word.
Okay.
Udemy. And if you haven't used Udemy, it's an awesome resource. Lynda.com is another one, Lynda. Lynda.com is another great DIY resource. So there's lots of big examples, but there's also lots of individuals using digital marketing to successfully build a DIY marketplace for themselves on a smaller scale. So it doesn't have to be some huge multiple teacher thing, right? It can be definitely something small when you're just starting out. So the other...
Wait, Lynda.com? I thought that was the one with...
They teach you how to use Microsoft Word. They teach you how to use Photoshop. It's more courses.
Neat.
Right?
Cool.
So,
I was confusing it with something else.
Yeah. No, there are specific courses that train you on how to use different technology tools in your business.
Right.
And their sweet space is technology.
Yeah.
Right?
And those examples are big examples, but the way things are today, you can start uploading stuff to YouTube. It doesn't take much to get underway. Yeah.
Even, another fun example, we listened to one of our favorite podcasts by Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income, about one of the partners from Simple Green Smoothies, right? That really falls into the DIY expert. They give you all the training and everything you need to do your own smoothies and to get healthy. And they built a 7-figure business.
Yeah.
Right? Just starting out with Instagram post in the beginning, but they built, they're kind of that combination of online community and DIY expert built in. And so
great marketing.
Yeah, and beautiful marketing. But you start to see where some of the business models kind of get integrated with each other as businesses grow. But they started out as the DIY experts, two recent moms, right? I think when they started out just sharing their stories, how green smoothies changed their life, they built this huge following and they have become DIY experts and figured out how to monetize it very successfully. So they're a great example. So the one I think that we probably see most commonly with our clients is the independent designer or service provider. And so this person usually is doing project work, retainer work. They do done for you services. So this could be a graphic designer, an interior designer, a freelance writer. Could be Brad, could be someone writing software, someone building websites. But basically, they're going to the client and saying, what do you need? How can I help? And then they do the work for them.
Right. It's
Right.
trading hours for time, but
It is trading time for dollars. So again, like that one-on-one mentor.
I said hours for time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. Yes. Trading
Okay.
time for dollars.
I'm weaning myself off of coffee this week, and so maybe my alertness level is a little lower.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Good for Brad.
let's keep moving
I'm
forward.
not weaning myself off of coffee. So the thing about the independent service provider or the independent designer is similar to the one-on-one mentor where you do run out of time. So it's a great business model to build to begin with, to master, but then at some point you'll need to leverage that and start looking at other business models that you can add that create more passive revenue streams in your business. But to start, you've got to master that done for you model that you're leading with, right? It's the perfect model for those of you that love really taking care of people, really connecting with people and doing the work for them.
Yeah, it was always I was a software contractor for quite a while, and it was always the model I was most comfortable with. It didn't involve lots of marketing and other things like that. It was just a matter of getting clients, and once you were signed up, you didn't have to do more of the marketing part of things.
Yeah. Yes. And this is a perfect business model for those of you that love the behind the scenes work. And at the same time, if you're in business for yourself, the biggest challenge for that independent designer or service provider is mastering sales and marketing. You have to get comfortable with visibility. You have to get comfortable with connecting with your prospective clients. And some of the things that we show you in the quiz results are the exact things that you need to do to make that happen. So it's worth taking the quiz, and we'll share how to do that with you in just a minute. And then the final maker business model that we want to share with you is the artist crafter, right? And so the artist crafter is making products, pieces of art, pieces of music. Like we have one friend, in fact, I think his show just came out recently, Sean Stewart, that we interviewed, didn't even share about this aspect of his business. But for people like us that are live event hosts, he writes music. So we have a signature song and a signature piece of music that goes with our particular show. It's kind of a fun, very creative concept. That would be one idea. But basically, you're crafting something. One of my very first coaching clients ever was this amazing woman named Elaine Perez, who has a business called summercrafter.com. She's a quilter, and she sells quilting kits and quilting patterns, right? So it's a perfect example of the artist maker. So she was making it really easy for other people to make their own quilts. She was a former school teacher that a lot of her crafting was happening in the summer, and she wanted to do something different and support people that want to craft in short periods of time. So the difference between that and the DIY expert is information and knowledge based. The artist crafter is doing the work, right? They're actually making the furniture, making the paintings, right? And then going out and selling them. So some of the revenue streams that you have to make work as an artist crafter that are different from all the other business models that we've talked about, e-commerce, being able to sell on Amazon or Etsy, as well as your own store, attending craft fairs. The way you can really leverage and grow your income is through licensing, wholesale sales, and attending expos and conferences, right? So there's some really distinct ways that the artist maker can really increase their income more than just being at home trying to sell a few pieces of art through your website. So it's really important that you understand the depth of the business model and what's required.
Yeah, and some of those are pretty traditional sales channels. You're making cupcakes. So do you have a brick and mortar store? Dave's Cupcakes on the corner, or are you selling to restaurants? Are you going to craft fairs or restaurant fairs, things like that? Those are fairly traditional, but you need to investigate all of them and see what the costs are. Certainly, brick and mortar is a whole different animal in terms of your investment up front compared to going to different fairs and things like that. Lots to think about there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of the favorite things that we help people do is for each of these business models, understanding what the right revenue streams are to start with and how to continuously add revenue streams. Once you have one running successfully, then adding the next one and getting those revenue streams consistently bringing in income before you add another business model. This is one of the mistakes that we see a lot of these different archetypes make, is trying to do too much too soon. And mastery is so important. So really making sure that you have one revenue stream working well before you do the typical creative thing and see a different opportunity as that bright, shiny idea. And let me try that. Let me try that. I'm the queen of that. So I'm speaking to myself as I say that. Brad watched me do that when I had my publishing company for 11 years, right? That sense of, well, that worked okay, but not great. Let's go try this. Let's go try this. And not really giving a particular business model or revenue stream enough time to become successful. Success does not happen overnight, almost ever. It might seem like it from our outside looking in to what's happening for people, but you rarely see the amount of work and effort that goes in. And I'll give you a really fun example. One of my favorite magazines is Success Magazine. And I was sharing with Brad, there was just a fun little, really short article, and I'm going to forget her name, but it's the lady from Shark Tank. That's the QVC queen, the shopping queen. And they shared a great success story where she invested $125,000 for a 20% share of a company that within 7 months, she took from a revenue of, I think, $500,000 to $9 million in 7 months. So, and the artist crafter was the business model, right? These two women, a mother and a daughter, great story, just beautiful, lovely, charismatic women, had created a fit board, one of those balance boards that you stand on and play on. And what attracted the QVC queen to the business model was how simple it was, right? How saleable it was, how easy it was to use. And all they sell are these fitness boards in a variety of sizes, shapes, and bright colors, right? Simple, simple, simple. And that simplicity has created a lot of success and a lot of profitability for them. But what I loved was what the daughter of the mother-daughter team said at the very end of the article was they consistently showed up every time there was an open call for Shark Tank in their community. They showed up, they showed up, they showed up until they got selected. And so her comment was that it took persistence, it took a lot of hard work and a lot of commitment to make this happen for them, right? So they really stuck with it. They were doing okay on their own, but of course they hit that wall where they knew they needed support, right? So if you're not consistently working towards one goal, you're probably trying to do too much rather than not enough, right? That's usually what we see happening. And the reason that I love the business model concept is because it helps you focus on doing enough of the right thing instead of trying to do too many things, which creates overwhelm.
Cool.
It's going to be a long podcast, right? As we're getting through all this content.
I think we should move over to the director.
I think we should move over to the Maverick.
Yeah, we originally called it the director, but we needed another M word,
yes.
So we went with the Maverick.
Yes, the poet in me loves alliteration, I have to say. So, but the Maverick is the empire builder. They're the ones that have the capacity for lots of different business models. Like what's important to them is really they love that CEO role. They love being the visionary leader in their company. They love having a lot of complexity in their business and multiple offers and multiple roles that they play. Where they get challenged, if you're a Maverick from the beginning, which is what happened to me, is that I want to implement all my business models at once, right? I'm that master builder. I can see the potential in having all these different sources of income flowing in. But the advice I just gave was you can only build one at a time. So the challenge for the Maverick is understanding how to sequence and prioritize their big vision, the steps towards their big vision, because they're great at seeing the big picture, but they don't always have the ability to see the small steps that are going to get them there. So they get really overwhelmed because they see this big, beautiful picture, but they don't know how to get from where they are to there. They just want to be there.
Yeah. And as someone who works with a Maverick on a day-to-day basis, I can also say they need someone who can rein them in.
Yes.
Maybe put some brakes on some of the things and accelerate other things.
Yeah.
Focus is an issue. And also not so much focus as like Manette said, wanting to do all of those things at once and perhaps not being able to elucidate them and describe what's in their head
Mm-hmm.
to the rest of the people in the business. And that's a real struggle, because they see that vision on their own, but there's a gap there between what the vision is and having the vision implemented. And perhaps there's a gap between the breadth of the vision and what can actually happen in the next day, week, month, or year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I want to share the three, got to get in front of the camera. So in the three business models, I told you we're silly this morning. We got to get, actually, I think we're silly every time we do this, but the three business models for the Maverick. The first one is what I call the master builder. And the master builder is focused on building a business, not a personal brand. They have big dreams of creating a company with multiple streams of revenue. It's really important to them to leave a legacy. So one of my favorite examples of this would be Richard Branson, right? The Virgin Brands. He started with, one recording studio many years ago, and now has like 500 companies to his name. So it's a great example of having multiple revenue streams, multiple companies, right? Warren Buffett would be another example of being a master builder. They thrive on the constant building and adding revenue streams, and they can see the potential. But yet, if you look at how each of them built successfully, I put Sarah Blakely from Spanx as well as another great example, right? Of having underneath the Spanx brand built a lot of different things that she's doing.
What are the other ones?
And the other ones, dun, da, da, da. So the corporate consultant would fall under the Maverick role. So it might be tricky wondering, why does the corporate consultant fall under the Maverick and not under that one-on-one mentor? Because it's a lot of what they're doing is going into companies. So they love the teaching and connection part, but they have that visionary role, that visionary opportunity to see to the core of what's happening in a company and figure out solutions for that. They're not doing the work. They truly are going in and consulting and saying, look, this is what you need. I can coach you through the process, but they're not doing done for you services or done with you services. They really are going in as that consultant, helping just really nail what's going on. So that's, they give expert advice is I guess the way I would say that.
And I don't know that someone who didn't have Maverick tendencies could actually advise at C-level executives.
Yeah.
Right. They need to understand that scope. So
yes. And so some of the revenue streams, training, workshops, speaking, executive coaching, consulting. So they're very specific, happening inside of companies where there's a lot of complexity. And so the Maverick is very comfortable with that complexity and being able to work with entire teams of people as opposed to just working one-on-one. And so finally, one of my favorites for the Maverick is what I call the thought leader. And the thought leaders are trusted sources who move and inspire people with their innovative ideas. They're great at turning ideas into reality, and they know and show others how to replicate their success, right? So one of my most favorite thought leaders of all time is Seth Godin. I think we've talked about Seth Godin on the show before.
Definitely love us some Seth Godin.
Yes, and I think we're just going to put that on our bucket list, that it would be a dream to have Seth Godin on this podcast. So if you know Seth Godin and want to introduce us, that would be super awesome. And I want to write the forward to my next book. Am I asking for too much?
I think I'd be pretty intimidated.
I wouldn't. Oh my gosh, he's so much fun. I would not be intimidated to talk to Seth Godin. So the thought leader really monetizes information, right? They monetize their knowledge. So they do that through books, speaking, and live events and workshops. I would even put Tony Robbins, right, in that category at this point in his career as a thought leader. He's really actually changed the live event model for a lot of other people in that industry. Oprah Winfrey is a thought leader. Wayne Dyer. Brene Brown is becoming a thought leader, right? She's someone that started off actually in that independent designer service provider, the research role, and she has really moved into this public thought leader. So it's beautiful. You can really see how people have grown into different business models. So we often encourage people to start with the one-on-one mentor model or the independent designer model, and then grow into some of these other business models. So it's about thinking simple about where to start.
I want to let people know some of the resources that we have to support them along the way with as it relates to these things.
Well, first they have to take the quiz.
They have to take the quiz, which you can find on our website, pathtoprofitacademy.com. I believe it's on the homepage. If it's not, just on any blog page, you'll see it on the right-hand side with our quiz. It's a simple opt-in, and
it's totally free. We're not selling anything.
Takes you about 2 minutes to do, and then you get some fun results and a nice report. But you also get the opportunity then to check out Minette's webinar, which is fantastic, Cash for Creatives. You can learn a next level as it relates to those things. And we also have a wonderful new course, the Creative Freedom Formula, which takes this stuff even further, an in-depth view of all of these business models, all of these archetypes, and really how you can apply them to your business and move the needle.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
and I'm sorry, you can look at the course at joincffp.com.
Awesome. Great sales, honey. So Brad's learning how to ask for the sale.
Yeah, right.
It's been a journey over the last year. So when we started rolling this out and testing the quiz with some of our clients, we had 2 clients both realize that they had been in the wrong business model for decades, right? It was really surprising and inspirational to them to see where they needed to shift and grow, and that the reason that they, 1, weren't successful, and 2, felt really unhappy and trapped in their business because they weren't building the right business. So it's just as important to be able to determine if you're in the wrong business currently, and how can you shift your business model to increase your satisfaction as well as your income.
Definitely.
Yeah. So they're super fun, super creative. We've gone on a little bit longer than we normally do because can you tell we're super excited about this content and sharing it with all of you, because we're finding that it really supports people from the very beginning and making sure that you're building in the right direction. So we want to be here for you. We'd love to hear your questions. So make sure in the show notes, on the show notes page, that you share questions or comments or feedback, or on the quiz pages as well. Just when you get the autoresponder email saying, here's your results, just hit reply and tell us what's your type. We're really curious. So it's been fun to watch and capture information about how this is landing with people and how can we make it better, because one of the things that's one of our core values is continuous improvement, right? Learning something new every day, and we can't do that without feedback.
Definitely.
So I'm Dr. Minette Riordan. This is Brad Dobson. It's Path to Profit podcast. Go take the quiz right now at pathtoprofitacademy.com.
Bye, guys.